Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah. All right. So I want to thank everybody for being here today. And I wish we were coming together in celebration of some great accomplishment we had all overcome after a long fight. But instead, we're here for yet another battle. Our family members, our fellow citizens, our community members are dying. And we can't just stand by. We are at a pivotal time in this country. We're living in a time when our neighbors are dying. Our friends and family are disappearing. This country is putting more emphasis on putting cars in space than saving American lives. This crisis, our crisis, is not getting the same news coverage as the revolving door in the White House or the tweets of prestigious politicians. But this should be the biggest news story that there is every single day. There isn't a shortage of news articles on TV or in the newspaper, but there's inadequate funding to help stabilize and stop this emergency. Cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, and education programs only contribute to the problem. But there's some hope on this horizon. Just a few days ago, Senator Elizabeth Warren and Representative Elijah Cummings presented a bill that would provide $100 billion over the next 10 years to fight this epidemic. The Comprehensive Addiction Resources Emergency Act of 2018. I'm going to say that again because we get lied to a lot about legislation being put forward and what it really does. But for the first time in a long time, we have legislation that is properly named. It's the Comprehensive Addiction Resources Emergency Act of 2018. This act will go a long way to reducing the loss of American lives due to the opioid crisis. This is the type of leadership we need. The leadership who stands up for the people. What use is your power as an elected official if you do not stand up for the people? In 2016, more Americans died by opioid overdose, and this is coming from a veteran now, than American deaths lost in Iraq and Afghanistan. Combined. I'm a community organizer, so this isn't working too good for me. I'm going to just be loud, okay? So it's really uncomfortable. So the more straightforward way to say this is that, look, see, this is what happens when you go off notes because you're used to just going off your heart. So the more straightforward way to say this is that the opioid epidemic is one of the worst health crises to affect America in the history of this country. My state, the state of Delaware, is ranked first and second in the country for high-dose opioid pain reliever prescriptions and long-lasting, extended-release opioid pain reliever prescriptions, respectively, by the Department of Delaware Health and Social Services. Combining these two categories equals 225.8 prescriptions per 100 people. All of these prescriptions have led to massive increases in medication-related deaths in Delaware in the past decade. When these medications are so readily prescribed, more people are becoming susceptible to addiction and potentially move on to other harder drugs, such as heroin. Because when pain pills cost you $20 or $30 per pill, and heroin is only $3 a hit, it doesn't take a genius to figure out what is more economical for working class people who are just trying to survive. Okay? There has been no push to hold pharmaceutical companies accountable for this new opioid crisis. When you have evidence of how addictive your pills are that you are pushing, not unlike pushers on the corner. You're responsible for the effects. There shouldn't be people going around to different medical professionals saying, if you prescribe this pill, we'll give you a kickback. How can you say that is acceptable in any way? Pharmaceutical companies should be held accountable, and we will not and cannot stand idly and let this continue. The president suggests people should just say no. Right? Unfortunately, if it were that easy, we wouldn't have this situation. We cannot continue to use plans with no substance behind them. We cannot continue to give our thoughts and our prayers and hope everyone will be all right. It's time for action. My friends who have been with me all day at the rally, you're going to hear these words again, but they're so important. People need to hear it. People out there in the world need to hear how important this is. So when I say this, you will hear it again and let them know. We are letting Americans die by stating that there is a need for funds, yet failing to provide those funds. That is irresponsible. We are letting Americans die by making combating the opioid crisis a partisan issue, by using it as a negotiating tool. That is criminal. We are letting Americans die by having commissions and councils research causes, but not holding Big Pharma accountable when they are the known culprit. This is immoral. We are letting Americans die. We in this room and people across this nation, many of whom are embarrassed to say that they themselves or their family members or their children are dying on a regular basis. We urge the President of the United States, no, we demand the President of the United States and our members of Congress to act now to provide the needed funding and legislation to take actual steps to end this terror inflicted upon the American society by internal aggressors. The people of the United States are not dividends to be traded amongst the wealthy. Our lives are not to be used for research and development to pad the pockets of pharmaceutical executives and their shareholders and our politicians. Today, we are here to draw attention to the purposeful destruction of our communities by pharmaceutical companies and to say, not on our watch, not with our lives.